back to the show where avant-garde meets old guard.
I went to the doctor last week. I said, can I have some sleeping pills for the wife? He said, why? I said, she woke up.
Anybody here from animal rights? Because this is fucking fur, okay?
From the Holocaust to her own husband's suicide, when it comes to material for her routines, this next comedian knows no boundaries.
I say what I want, I do what I want, I don't even think about crossing lines. Let me tell you, I don't give a shit if you're white or black or yellow or green, as long as you can do my hair. It is, yes!
She doesn't sit around wondering how charming she is. She belts out all kinds of jokes by the thousands.
I once had a rapist fall asleep in the middle. My mother, all I ever heard growing up is, why can't you be like your cousin Sheila? Why can't you be like your cousin Sheila? Sheila had died at birth. And I just...
She's not guilty of it very often, but she's sometimes so determined to tell a joke, she's so ambitious about a laugh that she sometimes overdoes it.
And I was there in New York for 9/11, which is just, oh, God, we ended up with 2,400 widows, each who finally this year, ended up with a check for $5 million each. And I lost friends, and my daughter lost a lot of friends in it. I started doing the jokes immediately. What would you rather have? Someone who farts and drools in their sleep, or a nice check? $5 million. At least there gotta be 3 women out there that were going, Harry's dead, boo-hoo.
He's never really done anything on TV because he's far too good live.
He's the best comic of his generation, which sadly is my generation.
I did A-level, did three A-levels, and I was having a bit of trouble choosing which ones I was going to take, so I went to my English teacher. I said, Mr. Spinoza, what A-levels do you think I should take? And he said, think of the things you like doing and simply take the subjects involving those. So I'm doing eating, sleeping and wanking at A-level.
You know, if he wasn't a comic, he'd be kind of like the weird nerdy kid on the train, you know.
He used to get picked on quite a bit. I'd be walking down the corridor, people would go, oi, specky fool eyes! And I'd go, no. 2 eyes. 2 convex lenses. Think on, pal.
I was standing at the back of the Stand, which is a little comedy club in Edinburgh, about 2 years ago, watching Daniel Kitson's Edinburgh show. I was watching it with Mark Thomas. And we both kind of turned to each other at the end, and we were not happy, because we had a sense that we should probably give up, because I felt like that night you sort of saw stand-up get about as good as it ever could.
I went through 3 years of speech therapy, right? And the best thing that they could come up with for me was, okay, Daniel, in you come, sit down, here we go. In order, yeah, laugh it up, bitch. In order to stop yourself from stuttering, simply tap out each individual syllable of every word you say, like so, onto your right thigh. Hello? What say we get down to some loving? No, madam, come back here. There's no need for the police here, madam.
At number 26, the stand-up comedian for the loaded generation, Frank Skinner.
If I'm having sex face-to-face with a woman, I will put on a bit of a show, you know. For morale, more than anything else. I'll be there going... smashing this.
What I think is brilliant about Frank's early stand-up, and still a lot of stuff that he does now, is that you know, he's thought of as kind of bawdy or whatever. What he in fact is kind of microscopic and graphic in the way that he talks about sex.
Our relationship was based on me giving her oral sex. That was it. I'd walk through that door, she'd go, fucking lick this now! And deeper, that was her thing. Deeper, come on, deeper! She'd go, deeper! Well, I've tried, but I don't know if you've ever tried getting a little bit deep. Sometimes it's like you overreach, right? And you feel like you've pulled a muscle in your tongue. She'd be going, deeper! deeper, come on, deeper. I could taste the fucking chair.
I think he's changing, and has changed as a person, as a comedian, since I first met him, and I think, you know, the stuff he'll do later will be maybe different to the stuff that he first did, but he's still one of the most natural comedians in the country.
Not only have I let you down, but I feel I've let myself down.
Steve Cougan is a wonderful comedian.
What are you fucking looking at?
Because he invents a character and becomes the character.
Hey, do you know what I'm fucking sick and tired of? People coming up to me saying, Paul, you're a sexist. I'm not a sexist, I'm a radical feminist. I think you've got to be these days if you want to get your end away.
Steve Cougan is one of the most prolific comedy character actors of the last 30 years. And while most of his creations belong in the land of sketch, sitcom and spoof chat shows, some have found their way into doing stand-up.
His character Paul Carp was originally called Duncan Disorderly, but to be taken seriously as a viable person in the real world, he had to change it.
Do you know, before I come out tonight, I went to Chippy, right, get a bit of nose bag. Right, I'm stood at the back of the queue, there's a fucking student at the front of the fucking queue, right, writing a fucking cheque for a bag of chips.
It's just something really thrilling about seeing someone who is that good at being a pissed person. That was just genius.
Like all good character comedians, Steve couldn't go long without cross-dressing and created a sister for Paul, the promiscuous Pauline.
It's actually quite a sweet character, even though she's a massive slag.
No, it's called Arnie. Yeah, Arnie, short for Arndale Centre. It's Arnie short for Arnold Schwarzenegger, because that's a good role model, isn't it, for a little boy, eh? I'll be back, eh? Your fucking dad won't, will he?
I think if I was able to come up with characters as funny as Paul Carp, then I would do that instead of what I do.
Steve Cougan hasn't performed stand-up since he ditched the characters of Paul and Pauline. Instead, he decided to concentrate on Alan Partridge, Tommy Saxondale and other TV and film projects.
No, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you've been drinking again, Paul. No, well, yes, but I know when to stop. You know, I know if I'm lying on my back, choking on my own vomit, I know that I should only have one, maybe two more drinks. And after that, I better stick to shorts. Yeah, I'm going to find the bar. See you later.
At number 24, the man who apparently made stand-up sexy in the 80s. We had Stan Boardman. America had the often controversial Eddie Murphy.
You know, I mean, I remember watching Delirious, which you can't even get now, because if you do watch Delirious again now, you just go, I can't believe you got away with this shit. Like, the ignorance.
This shocking routine from the now deleted Delirious video uses the AIDS epidemic to get laughs from an enraptured audience.
Ladies be saying, gay men are the best friends to have. Because they don't want anything from you, you don't want anything from them. You can just hang out and you can be with them and it's fun and you can talk to them and all that bullshit and they be hanging out with them. You know what's real scary about that? That new AIDS shit. AIDS is scary because it kills motherfuckers, AIDS. Kills people. It petrifies me because girls be hanging out with them. And one night they can be in the club having fun with their gay friend and give them a little kiss and go home with that AIDS on their lips. Get home with their husband and like 5 years later, Mr. Johnson, you have AIDS. He goes, AIDS? But I'm not a homosexual. Sure, you're not a homosexual.
You know, you can kind of understand why he doesn't do stand-up anymore, because the type of movies that he does nowadays, it doesn't really suit it. If he's doing kids' films about talking dogs, you know, for him to then be standing on stage talking about eating pussy, it's not gonna fit.
You know, he's always like, you are, it's on, get your fuck it.
You know, because I lost my girlfriend and it's very difficult, you know, if you, what do you say? If you see a girl, you think, what do I say? You're out of practice, you know, what do you say? What do? You get these guys called Craig, and they go, hey, my name's Craig, how you doing? And girls go, oh, excitement, and they go. For me, around about here, my brain seizes up. It's true, I see a girl and I think, my name's Lee, do you want a drink? Do you want to dance? I mean,
At number 23, the physical whirlwind that is Lee Evans.
I think Lee Evans is borderline genius. No, it's not fair saying any comic's a genius. No, they've not invented anything. But I think he's the closest thing to pure comedy that you're going to get.
He said, don't you? I said, don't you? He said, don't you? I said, don't you? I'm sorry. So,
Shite. There's not a fucking word that would describe Jo Brand to me, the unattractive, fucking awful, unfunny, lefty fat cow.
The fact that he's being so horrible about me and other people obviously means he's very threatened by us, and that makes me really happy.
Whether you love or hate her, or even if you want to sit on the fence like Jim Davidson, Jo Brand has been one of Britain's most outstanding comedians of the last 20 years.
The tabloids like to create a sort of caricature, and it suited them at the time to say that I was a man-hating lesbian.
Now, what I was saying before about long-term sex, you know, it does get boring, and I think a lot of couples, after a few years, it's just like a bit of that, isn't it, on a Friday night after the bill, because can't be bothered. And lots of blokes I know say that women are actually very bad at doing that because they do it too hard and it hurts. We know, that's why we do it.
Because of my size and the way I look generally, what was going to happen when I got on was I would be heckled pretty much straight away. In fact, even before I got on a lot of the time. So I just thought, well, if I have a go at myself, perhaps that'll sort of soften the audience's attitude towards me a bit.
And you know, when I was at college, I was a very big drinker, and I'd have nights when I get so pissed, right, that I couldn't remember what I'd done the night before. And I'd wake up on the bus the next morning with one shoe on, no knickers, and carpet burns all over my chin. Where the bloke had tried to drag me out of his flat, obviously, but...
I think there's genuine sort of affection for Jo. Whenever I've seen her, the audience genuinely sort of this rush of affection.
Male sexual fantasies tend to feature two lesbians and a donkey, don't they? With the Match of the Day theme playing in the background. With me, someone said to me once, what's your favourite sexual fantasy? And I said that you run a Hoover over the place at least once a week.
I've never wanted to educate people to change their political views or anything. I've just wanted to make them laugh, and as long as I can do that, I'm quite happy.
The ladies not for turning.
Bastards! I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
America gave us legendary political commentators like George Carlin, Bill Hicks and Lenny Bruce. Here in this country, we had Ben Elton.
Jacques Chirac, the Prime Minister of France, was at the EEC and he said a rude word.
He was fast, he was furious, he was radical.
A rude word to Mrs. Thatcher. Said something like, Couillon.
He is a force of nature, and I think that's what comes across in his live stuff.
Couillon. Now, we have had it translated and we can't tell you what it is because it's rude.
It's an incredible array of ideas performed with phenomenal conviction.
All we can say is they normally come in pairs. Mrs. Thatcher doesn't have any, but she's got the country by them. That's all we can say.
Ben Elton first appeared on our screens on the Oxford Roadshow in 1981.
I do it for love, right? Love of being paid. My name's Ben Elton. Good night.
But he became a household name when he compared Channel 4's cult stand-up show, Saturday Live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Saturday Live.
I don't think there was any other candidate when they decided to go with a constant host for the second and third seasons. I don't know who else you'd have asked but Ben.
Mark Thatcher, he's having a lovely time. Let's hope he has a lovely wedding night. Let's hope he makes love better than his mum runs the country, eh? Love. I like hell to get in and then do Sweet FA for 7 years, you know. It's not that, is it?
He became one of the biggest stand-up comics. And the reason that that happened was because he caught the zeitgeist, he was prolific, he could constantly rewrite, he does constantly rewrite, and he was talking about the things that people were talking about at the time.
But Mrs. Thatcher was very upset. She wiped away a tear and she was very upset because she loves Mark. She should be philosophical. She should look at it this way. She's not so much gaining a daughter as losing a dickhead. I think that's Joan.
What I find most disappointing about him, really, is that he was this arch political comedian, you know, boycott his sanctions for South Africa and all that kind of business, and then he writes a musical about Queen, who famously played Sun City. What's the man doing? It's a disgrace.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've walked into this wall again.
Our next comedian started out as a singer on the folk music circuit in the 70s, but despite nearly 30 years of mainstream popularity, back then he was a pioneer of observational stand-up comedy.
When the nutter gets on the bus, does the nutter sit next to you? The nutter always sits next to me.
When Jasper Carrott started on TV, he was seen as very kind of new and different kind of comic.
Has anyone seen my camel?
All those classic routines like Nutter on the Bus, you know, in a way the embryo on which a lot of modern observational comedy has grown out of.
I've got an atom bomb here, you know. It's a corned beef tin, you know. Because once you've got the nutter, everybody else can enjoy it then, can't they? What's he got there? He's got a corned beef tin!
Jasper has the ability of reading from a telephone book and making it funny. I remember, I don't know how long ago, it was 20 years ago, Jasper was the first person to do the routine all about reading out the insurance claims.
These are Australian motor insurance claim form statements. The pedestrian had no idea which direction to run, so I ran over him. I told the police I was not injured, but on removing my hat, I found I had a fractured skull. The bloke was all over the road. I had to swerve a number of times before I hit him.
It's very influential. That kind of anecdotal style wasn't much done in Britain now. Virtually everybody does that now.
I went to the doctor last week. I said, can I have some sleeping pills for the wife? He said, why? I said, she woke up.
I was very much inspired by Les Dawson. I think the guy is a genius.
I've just had some bad news. Tomorrow it's the mother-in-law's funeral. And she's cancelled it.
Despite his image as the working-class clown, there was much more to Les Dawson than was immediately apparent.
They put Les down because of his association with mother-in-law gags, but Les Dawson was bigger than that. He had a great brain for comedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, that journey was horrendous. Tendrils of cold, raw mountain mist encircle my stout Gannick's gaiters.
He uses language incredibly well and uses big words, and you know, he'll start a monologue and you go, wow, this is really intellectual, but he's doing it in a sort of working class way, and he's tragic as well.
My eyelids were crusted with pelmets of frost. My lips were chapped and battered like a Polish salami. And I confess at that moment in time, panic gripped me tripes.
Les Dawson had always harboured literary ambitions and wrote poetry and numerous novels before his death in 1993. He was also a gifted pianist.
And people used to think, well, he gets all the notes wrong, and that made you laugh. But tell you what, he could play a piano properly.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, where would we be without good music? Here.
We're into the top 20, so stay tuned for the best stand-up comedians of all time after the break.
He's the one that sums up that